Back in the house once again. I thought I would take time, got all my reels pulled off on my rods, and I thought I would go ahead and take time to talk about the BFS side of things since I haven't been talking about that in, I don't know, forever. A lot of videos. So I figured I'd take a little time and we'll just brush up on our BFS knowledge, right? Or what I've got, what I recommend. Because I noticed I was going through browsing YouTube and all of my BFS videos, like the majority of uh, true BFS, the whole length of the video, are more than a couple years old now. Like there's BFS I've thrown in there here and there, but like if you remember right, me especially, then we included Charles for there about 2 years maybe, were just every week it seemed like we had a new reel or new rod to talk about or new bait or new something, and then we just kind of got to the stuff that we stuck with. And so if you're new to the channel, buckle up. I'm going to talk about a few things that you probably haven't heard about, but if you know what I'm talking about, it just kind of like refreshing our memories on what we've already tried. Are there any new ones out there? And I don't have reels to show you because if you guys remember right, a year or so ago, I got rid of all but just a few BFS reels. I kind of went on my little swim bait adventure and a little higher end. We took a little turn and we never left BFS, but we're here where we're at now. So let me get the BFS stuff out of the way, then we'll talk about my arsenal I got going on now. I only really own, well, let's talk about this one first. Probably the most iconic BFS reel that's still going, that has been a staple for a lot of people for a long time, is the Shimano stuff. But the Calcutta Conquest, and then the Aldebaran. There's just diehard round reel guys that love this little reel. I've got it. I haven't fished it in forever. It's got the aftermarket. Is that the Chameleon spool they called it from AliExpress? Still the smoothest, no resistant like filling reel I've ever more or less felt. Works very good. It's just I've fished for years with the monoblocks and with some of these, and I'm kind of just out of I just can't get myself back into the round reel phase of really liking these. They are excellent reels. So if you're wanting to be classy and willing to spend the money, they're not crazy expensive, but they are expensive. You don't need this to go BFS fishing, but if you want to be like the cool dudes out on whether it's creeks, streams, or wherever, you can't go wrong. This is the older one. The newest one looks very close to it. But you can't go wrong with the BFS HG from Shimano Calcutta Conquest. These are definitely awesome reels. Should last forever with BFS. So anyway, that reel is still going to be around forever. Some of the AliExpress knockoff stuff comes and goes. Daiwa has the older alphas. They got the new alphas. They've even now got the Tatula's got one. Abu Garcia's had them forever. This little shape of a reel right there is probably one of my favorites. It was a little unruly. It wasn't for beginners, but they had the LTX, BF8, BF6, or I don't know, ATL. They were a few different variations. This frame with BFS spools that were excellent reels. Also, they're still kind of available. If you check around, you can still find them, but they've totally reshaped all of their housings, and I think they took a turn for the worst, in my opinion. This is still probably my favorite frame that Abu Garcia ever had. I like the original Revos. I think they should have refined that more, but this is a very small, palmable, it's probably still the smallest actual reel that I think is made, really. It's real little. They were kind of ahead of their time, and they could probably throw these back out and now in the American market and make a lot of money on them. So anyway, get that dude out of the way. Let's talk about probably my favorite, for the money anyway, BFS thing, period, was the lingle. Wasn't well received by a bunch of people And one of the downsides, if you use real thin line, it can get up there. One thing about the Lingles, though, it seemed like it could get in there, but it couldn't go all the way over. So you'd fill it. So like if you had a backlash and you could fill it, you could pull it and it would come right back out. A lot of cheaper spools or reels with spools that don't match up right to the frame, it'll actually get in there and you got to take side plate and the spool out and unwrap it from the inside. I'd never had that happen with this one, but I do remember, and you can have it like tucks in there, but I think it gets a little tighter on the tolerance, so it doesn't let the line go all the way through. So some people were saying, oh, it gets the line in, but it's not like what the other cheap BFS reels. Unfortunately, I don't think you can actually find the lingle in that true BFS form anymore. Show what I'm talking about. I think you can still find them on AliExpress shaped like this, but they don't have that basically Shimano copied FTB brake system. They're like a gold spool with just a flat, the old school stuff. But these are also, if you can come across the true lingle with that other one, excellent. They're not the best for the lightest, but for zinging lightweight baits out there, what most of you guys here in the United States are going to use it for, probably. Excellent reel. We're talking about the last one I got, and then I'll talk about what I've had and what I recommend, or any of the new ones if you're curious on AliExpress what to look for. This is still probably the best bang for the buck BFS reels that's ever been made, and they're still available. The Habo Arise on AliExpress. They are more expensive than all the other BFS reels pretty much on AliExpress, but they're like on a whole nother level of refinement. Aluminum frames, just a smoother. You don't hear the gears, you don't feel the gears. They're what I consider, this is like the Steez version of what Steez Daiwas are in Japan. This is like what these are in China. This is like one of their pinnacle of success reels that just works very good. The Habo Rise. You can get it a couple different BFS models, I think 3 now, and then you can get like 3 different gear ratios in just a standard version. This is the Elite BFS one. Had it a couple years now, but these reels are definitely up and above, and they're like I'm gonna say anywhere just over 100. Sometimes you can find the blue one, I think, for 109 to like 130, 140. Might even be sometimes you'll have to pay 150. But for what this reel is and what it does, it is more capable than your cheaper like the Corrado BFS. It'll throw down lighter. It's right there with the Aldebaran or like Calcutta Conquest I just showed you on the capabilities. I mean, this reel's right there. The only downside I ever had to it, or the regular one I had, was I felt like it palmed a touch awkward. That's me just getting like very nitpicky about reels and stuff, but it does palm good and comfortable, but I felt like this was almost too high feeling, if that makes sense. Like that should have been changed a little bit, but there's not much to knock on these reels. This one I bought and I kept. I had one other one. I think Charles may have it. I had a regular one. Was the first one I bought and tested out. And it had some issues with the brakes, and it's eluding me right now. I fixed it. I think we maybe added magnets to it too, like we had to do the Dark Wolf Ultra. But that reel, I think I fixed it. It had a slight issue with being a little kind of unruly on how it cast, but excellent caster. Cast real far. It was a real good casting machine. So now, before we go talking about my regular arsenal reels, I'm going to talk about the other reels you can get from AliExpress. Then I'm going to talk about some of the spools I actually have that you can get from AliExpress, and kind of compare what the cheapest way if you were to want to get into BFS. And also, if you're watching, feel free to comment anything, as long as it's not like, this, it's still YouTube. This isn't X, so you got to be a little careful on what you're trying to say or commenting. So, you can go back and watch my videos. The reels I really recommend, even over this guy probably, would be the Solo King Acura. It's an all silver reel, still available on AliExpress for like $34 to $38, no more than $41. You'll find it available in either a single BFS spool, or you can get the dual spool one that's usually a little more money. Those reels are excellent for BFS and like an all-around BFS. They won't go as low as your real low-end stuff or even the Dark Wolf Ultra, which I'm getting ready to talk about. But that Accurate, if you're just wanting cheap reels, and honestly, even for regular, up to roughly probably 12-pound line to be safe. I fished it for a whole season with 15-pound, and I didn't have an issue, but I saw where you could have an issue because when I tightened my drag up, anytime you got a plastic reel, and that goes for any of them, a plastic, carbon, whatever they call framed reel, if you get too much thickness in line and too tight a drag, you can literally yank it out of the reel seat. That is the one downside, other than they just do wear out a little faster than aluminum frames, is why you don't see a bunch of swim bait reels being made cheap that are carbon. You'll literally, that is like a bait casting reel is a winch on the rod, right? So if you got it, say you buy one of those and you put it on something that you got 20-pound test and you crank the drag down and you've got this, not this little handle, but a standard handle, or even if you put one like this on it. Most of your aluminum reels, the drag, something else will give before this reel foot will break away. That is metal, right? And they've even, over the years, decided they didn't need the thing in the center. But that is stout. It's down there. This is low enough. It's not got enough, if I pulled straight up with a bunch of pressure, I could probably yank it out of reel seat. But straight away pressure like that, these are going to last, even if you're cranking heavy or whatever. But that's the only downside to that, or any of these carbon reels. Fortunately, though, if it's just BFS or say 12-pound or lighter, you're not putting the torque, you're just not, putting the force on these carbon frame reels is why they're, still lasting a long time, and you don't really necessarily need all the higher end stuff. Like this Arise is actually way overbuilt for BFS. The Corrado, the older Scorpions, even the Aldebarans and all that are way overbuilt. This thing here is like the epitome of way overbuilt for something. That tank, you could probably put a spool in this one that could handle, 20-pound line and go fishing on these littler round reels and still never wear it out. So that's why I was saying, just keep in mind if you're getting some of these cheaper reels. So in line with that Acura, we also had the Black Knight 2, the Dark Wolf Ultra, and the Micro Monster. They're all built on the same frame. Some changes, some have to do with the spool, other are just cosmetic. Now, my favorite BFS out of all of those was, and it still sells for higher, probably why it's more popular, is why it sells higher than even the Micro Monster. The Black Knight 2, I can't find on AliExpress. It was probably if you like that flashy stuff, it was probably the best looking one of them all. It had the purple side plates. I don't know why they called it Black Knight 2, and it was like a purple and black reel. But the Dark Wolf Ultra was my favorite. The Micro Monster, you can still get like the Acura, that you can get it with a single or double spool. But the Black Knight 2 and the Dark Wolf Ultra were your two copied to Shimano brakes and were the best for true BFS, very lightweight, like down to a 1-gram trout magnet or up to 5 to 7 grams tops kind of thing. 10-pound line or lighter braid, that is. But the Micro Monster and Acura are right there, but the Micro Monster is usually a little more expensive than the Acura for whatever reason. Acura matches up to most any rod you put it on. The Micro Monster's either got a little purple tint, pinkish, like a very light purple, almost looks pink, or a dark purple. So they don't go on every, rod to make up a combo that would look, for some of you guys, decent. So, and those are ones I tried. I've had all of those, tried them, liked them. Somebody, either Charles or somebody fairly close to me or family member, owns them now. As I kind of whittled down to just those few that I was kind of still fishing and testing for, like shaky heads, this and that kind of stuff. But the only thing new out there that I've seen that compares to it you could, if you're on the casking side, the Valiant Eagle, the Kestrel, Valiant Eagle 2 actually, or the Kestrel. I'm sure they're good reels. I've just always veered away from casking. I tried, if you remember right, me and Charles are always dogging casking because there's a guy local here on the Average Joe's Fishing Club that Van, I believe he's sort of sponsored, or he's got some, he's in cahoots, as we put it around here, with casking. So he's always talking good about him. And I've never found a casking that I really, really liked. I've tried a few different ones over the years, and every time I do, they let me down. But the last one I had was, oh shoot, what is it? I have to look at this rod to remember the name of that. I bought the whole combo from Charles, I think it was. We traded or did something, and oh, the Zephyr. I love the rod. I hated that reel. It was just lackluster for BFS. It could cast some kind of lightweight stuff, but it struggled at everything it did, in all honesty. But the Cast King Zephyr rod, this is actually a very strong, I mean, not strong, tough. It's very flexible and very bendy, like it bends down here. You know, it's got like a fiberglass feel to it. Real crazy bendable tip, you know, solid tip. But this thing will flat throw little baits and yank in some pretty hefty fish. It's just one of those awesome little, very small creek, stream. You know, you're going fishing little places, probably little fish, but if you hook into a big fish, I wouldn't be scared. Like, the line's going to break before that rod if you're fishing, even probably a 10-pound test. That's just an awesome little rod. So I kind of veer away from the casting stuff, but they do the Valiant Eagle 2 or the Kestrel. I've heard decent stuff, and they don't look bad. And I think the one you can get for under $100, like $79, and the Kestrel now you can find it relatively cheap on AliExpress, I believe. So the only other reel that I've even seen on there that even intrigues me at all, but I did watch the reel test and a few other guys that have already got those reels, because I set out for a year, is the High Star. They've got the Aurora, maybe, probably copying the Acura name to a certain extent, sounds the same. But that's like the silver and black reel, very lightweight. But then they came out with that all silver one. I cannot remember the name of that one. And then they came out with the Dragon, the kind of the red version of that. You see them floating around. Those are the ones that are like under 99 grams. They're these crazy lightweight BFS reels that I guess cast pretty good, but I've heard multiple people talk about how the geary, I think in trying to make the lightest weight BFS thing, you know, because they really needed something that sold over the Dark Wolf Ultra, which is a very small, compact, fairly lightweight reel already. The Acura and the, you know, Micro Monster, all these in that frame. So I think they narrowed it up. They made it shorter this way, and they probably lightened so much stuff that it's probably, even for BFS, it's probably just going to have a older, gearier sound a lot faster than any of the other reels, because all these reels, well, this one's got the knots hitting. I got so much line on it, the knots hitting, but this reel still feels good. It feels better than my old Daiwa. Like, you can hear it too. You can kind of hear but this is free. It's hard to explain, but you, almost like you can feel a little bit of the geariness to it, you know, because it's also magnesium frame, old school Edo. But like, this is probably even still a little bit freer than this reel. But this reel is probably a little bit smoother. But this is still a very good working reel. Had it for several seasons now. Just the videos I watched and the sound those were making while they were reeling, because I've gone back and listened to footage of me, you know, on video when I'm catching fish and reeling them. They are already louder, in my opinion, than this old thing that I've had a few seasons it ever was when it was new, kind of thing. Definitely way louder than this reel. Is like, just this is definitely better than all those other two I just showed you. The old Edo and it's just freer. There's not that feel. I'll be honest, let me compare. Now, I've fished this one for probably not even I've had it a whole 2 seasons. I've only fished it for part of a season, no more than I fished BFS there for a while. It's a brand new Steez. This one honestly probably feels like it's got just a touch more resistance because I haven't actually been out on the water fishing it, so it's probably got more grease in the gears, if that makes sense. But this one almost has a freer feel. But this feels very nice. There's nothing wrong with this. Let's compare it while I'm sitting here. While I've got you guys' attention. This feels good too, though. That lose, that reel feels good. These two that I'm just talking about right here, I'll go ahead and talk about that too. It's like I'd have to put this thing right with those, like that new lose, the new Steez. They have a there's almost nothing to fill kind of thing, so you can't knock that the fact that it's very freed up gearing, even though this has hyperdrive. Now these are brand new, so I'm sure they will only get a little better as the stuff wears in. They typically, any new reel I've had, even if there's some that are notorious, unless they're totally dry, they just miss the grease part of them. They get better once you get out on water, get a couple weeks to a month in, or even half a season. Then they just get in a freed up. You can't get any better until then. They'll start running low on. You need to re-grease them, kind of thing. And then I usually put a better grease. I don't really ever take. I have before, but I usually on the higher end ones I don't just change out the grease. But while we're talking about it, and I'm going to get back on track, but I like this is the Daiwa Space Grease or something, and then the Lucas Reel Oil. Just what I've kind of started. I would almost swear you can tell a difference. You take any brand new reel out, clean it, but I usually don't put as much grease or oil as probably what they had. But when you put these on them, like you can tell the difference from whatever and even the high end Daiwa, Shimano, Steez is all that. That's a better quality oil and grease than what they come with. So anyway, talking about the reels and what they feel like, those high star reels, I can't make myself buy them. They're only like $58. So $58, $60, something like that. So you could probably get two of those for the price of one of these. But I guarantee you, even though you're throwing BFS 4, 6, 8 pounds, some of you guys may be even using 1 pound, 2 pound, probably no more than 10 on a BFS setup. Because I run 10-pound braid and then I just switch out my leader. But sometimes I just run 10-pound braid to a 10-pound leader, and when I'm fishing the upper end stuff, whether it's even the like a Strike King 1.0, I'll throw on BFS gear just because I can fling it even further than I can on some of my other stuff. But these two reels will cast that kind of stuff, that upper end of the BFS, just as good as BFS reel, in my opinion. They're like real close. Because the Daiwas were known for not being able to cast like BFS as far as almost any other BFS reel. They could cast a little 1 gram, a 2 gram, very accurately without hassle, maybe, better than anything out there. But then you went to 3, 4, 5, 6 grams, like they suffered in distance, too much breaking kind of thing. And I had that. I've had, I think I've had them all. I had the old, was basically the first one, the Airstream Custom maybe or something. Then had the Silver Creek. I've had the Alphas. I've had the I don't know. I think I've had everything but the SS Air or the Steve's Air. I think I've owned on the Airs. No, wait, I haven't. I take that back. I've never owned the T3. That was probably the first true BFS reel. They said you can't put braid, you can't do this, can't do that. But they were just notorious for being excellent at the lightest of baits, the very smallest little creek stream, like where you're short pitching and stuff, to be very awesome reels. But then out kind of in the real world where you're going to be making some long casts with some, 2, 4, 6 gram baits, they struggled. They claimed to have fixed a lot of that. And until they put a boost probably on those SV type spools, they probably can't fix that. But anyway, I haven't tried those reels. But if you're, in my opinion, if you've got you don't want to spend as much as they want, and you maybe want something that's, I don't even know how heavy this is. We may weigh some reels up here in a minute. But if you want, a good, awesome reel, and you're just not into the Corrados or the, you don't want to spend the money at what they want for because you can get it to Tula now. But this Habo Elite is a hard reel to beat that's probably going to be well under 150 bucks. And they're usually in stock everywhere on AliExpress. Go to AliExpress, type in Habo Rise, and you'll see a bunch of different options. I'd just check around, see which store's the cheapest. One little side note trick there, kind of be safe. You're going to be guaranteed, but if you don't go through the hassle going through a fake store, is once you scroll down, you can find the store, and it usually will tell you like how many sold, and sometimes it has a feedback rating. If that stuff's all blank, it probably means that's a new store. Now, it could mean that's legit and it's just a new store. Like I said, it could mean it's just somebody threw up a thing and threw up so many deals. So a lot of times go to see everything they have, because there's a couple stores I found, no info. You click on see store or go to store, and there's only like 14 things listed. I usually, even if it's cheap, I just don't waste my time hassling with that. Like, I've never lost my money on AliExpress, but I've bought stuff that then like 2 weeks up to that full 6 or whatever it is, if it shows they never shipped it after a certain time, they automatically give you your money back. You don't even have to do anything. I've had to do that a couple times, and it's because of there are some stores that are not legit. They just post up and they're trying to get money kind of thing. But AliExpress good about now taking care of you. But anyway, that's what I would suggest. Just look at that. Make sure it's a kind of well known by somebody. It's got some feedback to it. It's, it's not just a, come and go kind of store that's opened and closed and all that kind of stuff. The Corrado DC. Yeah, I know the Corrado BFS, you can still find them on AliExpress for like 130 or 40 bucks. So there it would be a toss up between probably this or the Corrado BFS. But I'm telling you, I can't remember. I did a few videos. I'm pretty sure this guy cast down with the best of any reel out there. It's very good reel. The Corrado, it does too, but it's got some lacking. Like when it comes to, and I never fish anything that small. I just did it so you guys would know on the channel that wanted to watch. But like a 1 gram trout magnet, this is a very, it does a good job. The Corrado it's a little lacking. That reel there is right with the Aldebaran. So, and I'm going to talk about it because I don't have it, but I've owned it. The newest Aldebaran that's out, I own the older one, the older version, and then the newest version now. It is definitely the most capable BFS for the very lightweight stuff. I just couldn't make myself like that reel. The looks of it, the stupid thing on the adjusting the brakes. I probably should have kept it because it is a very awesome reel, but I just ended up selling it, got my money back out of it kind of deal. So on the highest end would be that, but my favorite reel was probably, I don't know, probably this guy. Let's talk about that now, the Spools. My best casting period ever. I'm going to talk about some of these BFS spools. We've even got a shallow spool, but not really BFS because it's a little heavier, but you can get a boost spool now that's this shallow off AliExpress for 35 bucks. That is a bargain, my friend. This one cost about 50, but was a bargain. It's crazy overhead cast. It flings bait.
Hello, Moto.
I have to call him back. So anyway, this spool has an issue with casting sidearm. I can cast overhead and beat the Aldebaran like I just talked about. Any other BFS reel I've ever had. It does not hold a lot of line. It's crazy lightweight. But when you go to just do, so like overhead and put some umph into it, no backlash. Same weight, just cast it sidearm. And I don't mean like flick it or nothing stupid, but just, cast, not a hard cast. And it would like fluff and want a backlash. So when you would tighten it to get it to where it wouldn't backlash no matter what, sidearm, doing light, doing heavy, then it would lose the battle in the overhead cast. So I'm like, this spool's kind of, but man, you talk about just the ease of throwing a 1 gram trout magnet overhead cast. You couldn't beat this reel. So while we're talking about that, I'm going to break out some spools. Let me go ahead. I am going to I'm going to break out the scale just so we can weigh this spool. I don't even remember what it weighs. We may even weigh some of these reels. I know. I was into doing some stippling and doing some testing on my cheap scale here. So let's see. Now, this thing does have line on it, but I'm going to show you that this is a pretty heavy spool. Got one extra bearing. I'll take it off. Just for a rough idea of what this is, a thick spool. You could probably, like, I'm not going to have any problem. I'm going to fish with 20-pound braid to a probably 15-20-pound leader. I don't know. I'm just going to use this for regular fishing. But 16.4, probably an ounce for that. Probably we'll just call it that. So it's still like way over 10 ounce. Like, this is still a heavy spool. It makes it good because it's doesn't hold a bunch of braid, and then I can get out, and it's still fairly lightweight for throwing regular size baits. But that thing there weighs 7.3 with the bearing and the sleeve thing to go into Iowa. So you can just see how they're built, how much shallower this one is, how thin, if you can make out just how much thinner everything is. This is a true built for BFS lightweight stuff. This is just shallow spool. Basically for guys, if you're fishing braid and you want to be able to throw like lighter baits with these, and you do have the SV boost. So it is right up there. I think you can still get the only other reel, I think, well, there's a few now that come with the shallow spool, but like the Steve's limited shallow spool, I think the Silver Wolf and the version of it, Salamandura of the Zillion, comes with the shallow spool, I believe, that's boost. But if you try to buy a replacement spool, they're going to be crazy. Anywhere $80 to $100 easy. So and I test this one, it does feel real good. We cast it out, it works real good. So any spool, when you got to kind of watch when you go to AliExpress, like this is like a $10 or $15 spool. Now this one also works, but it's just nothing special. So it's shallow enough, you could put braid on it, but I was not impressed with this spool. I'll just weigh it for you. Yeah, so 11 with the bearing. So it's probably right at there, about 10 grams. And I mean, you could kind of BFS fish with it, but you know, it's very cheap. So if you've got a cheap reel, you know, an older one that you're just like, I just want to buy a cheap spool, I think you can still come across these on AliExpress. They're just a cheap, just type in BFS spool, you know, whatever reel you got, Zillion, the older TDZ, Zillion, you'll find some of those cheap spools that are out there. What's this, an empty one? So I think that's it, other than this reel does have an OG. This was, I believe this was the first thing I bought off AliExpress. I'll go ahead and pop it out just to show it to you. I want to say this was a Ray Studio. I forget the name of it. I don't think that company's still making spool, or the company they were a company selling spools made by somebody else that makes them now, that sells them under a different name. But this is a better spool than that one I just showed you. This was $50. Did we weigh that other one? Oh my god, I already forgot what it weighed. So just to show you, it's still got the line on it, and I think it still is a lighter spool. Let me see. Let me get this stuff out of the way. So yeah, 11.5, and this one's probably going to be heavier, but maybe not. Yeah, 13.1. So it's a little thinner. It holds less line, but they're close. But I would still say this old original one is better than that one. They look to be the exact same spool, cut out and all, except for, I don't know, you guys tell me. Looks like maybe this one isn't shallower. Maybe this is the exact same one. This one's got slightly different That is slightly different. This one has a weird taper, kind of thicker, and then tapers in. This one just is a thinness all the way through. You can make that out. Slightly different, but yeah. Cheapest way would be one of these now for like, you're going to spend under 20 bucks, get you a BFS spool for an older Daiwa, and you can go. But you can also, if you check around, I think they still, I don't know if you can get these, I put that in all wrong, didn't I? I don't know if you can still get these or not, but if you really want to go real lightweight, it'll be a little unruly, but it'll fling the real light stuff out there and make long distance casts too. That spool there is a good one. And they make a, most of these they counter with, they've got some version for the, like, if you look at this one, I think the same place that was selling this one, you could buy the chameleon for this. It was about the same kind of thing, but they had to leave the metal in for the braking, the way the Shimano works. If you see how this, they've got the same holes cut out. Basically the same overall spool designed to fit Daiwa, designed to fit Shimano reels. I forget if there's an actual name of the company or they were just Chameleon is the name of that one, I remember. I kind of kept this, but in that Zillion, it was excellent. But the Zillion spool itself, spooled halfway up, was also excellent at just casting and working for regular baits. So I ended up just using it. Never really, you know, a couple different times I specifically went fishing real little places. I would put that in the Zillion and use it. That kind of thing. But so anyway, I probably ought to be wrapping this up over 30 minutes, see what everybody's been talking about. PE special, shallow spool for the Zillion. Good spool, but need more brakes. Oh, the PE special. Yeah, the Silver Creek, Charles, is a good reel, but it's, when you're just going out and testing, it does fall behind on the overall distance compared to the I'm telling you, that new Aldebaran. Here's the thing though, most all these, once you get out on water fishing and you set something up and you're just using it and you're used to it, that's, you're going to get all you need to get out of most of the reels they make nowadays on the Daiwa stuff, the Shimano stuff, the Arise Elite, even down to that Dark Wolf Ultra. For the money and can cast the lightest stuff, if you guys remember right, the Dark Wolf Ultra is the best, but it had its issues too. We had to add them little bitty magnets to it, if you guys remember right. And I don't think the Reel Test ever did. But we also found out, I think it was the magnets, wasn't it, Charles? I added to that Habo, and then I think we fixed it, and I think you ended up with it. But those little magnets can be bought pretty cheap. I bought a bunch. I think I sent some to Jay. What is this? Oh, a little C-clip. Better leave it there. You never know when you might need that. But the Dark Wolf Ultra is probably still the best for the money, because under like 75 bucks, you can have a BFS, you know, reel that just flat will cast down to the 1 gram trout magnet, no problem. But the Black Knight 2 is right there. I think Charles still has all those, don't you, Charles? I think Charles still has, I believe he's got this in like a gold color highlights on it. I believe he's got a Black Knight 2, Dark Wolf Ultra, Acura. I believe he's got Dark Wolf Ultra Acura switch thing. If you guys remember, I did that in a video. Switch the frames around with the side plates because they are completely interchangeable reels. And so whatever one you have the frame of, or the side plates, that's one that needs that spool, because that side has the different braking thing. So if it's a black side plate, it's going to have the true BFS Shimano brakes, and if it's a silver, it's going to have the capability of holding 2 different spools, a deeper spool or a BFS. Yeah, that's what Charles was just saying. That I think the newest Dark Wolf Ultra you buy now, they fixed that. You don't have to add the magnets. But even if you did, we added them on a couple of the, not this lingual, but the lingual variants that also took different spools and had the regular magnets. You could add one on it, and it seemed to make those cast a little, not necessarily better, just way more predictable, less backlashing. You could get them more little finer tuned with that. So anyway, I got to get out of here. I got to get some stuff done. Yesterday, I was in a funk. I woke up and my mandula oblongata wasn't working or something. I was like, just not feeling good. So I didn't do much. So I tried to get as much done today as I could. Did I do anything? Oh, I did do some stuff. I was out doing some test casting and stuff today, and I found out that, which I know I already knew this because I stopped. I had bought some before and then quit using it. I'm going to leave this bearing on here. It comes with both bearings. This for $35, you get both bearings that are very, probably going to be too noisy for me, but very free bearings. Probably a ceramic hybrid mix of some sort. But I knew, I've told you guys, Charles, I've told you forever, P-line original, main line, or I use a leader material now. I don't even like fishing with anything other than braid to the leader with this. But if you guys remember, I bought this, and I'm like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to talk myself. I remember trying it before, but P-line original, I just liked it better. This is 15. This is 20. This is a stiffer line. Now, some of you guys may like that if you're looking for something that's even, they're supposed to be both copolymer. This feels more like a fluorocarbon, so it's like closer towards fluorocarbon than this is probably towards mono. They feel like they stretch about the same, but my issue with it is why I've already switched out the one reel I put it on as a leader was on this reel that I have on my and I put it on the blade just to go out and do some test casting. And I'm going to try to show you guys if you can make out the line. I would swear that 15-pound is at least as thick, if not thicker, than the 20. But this stuff, tied my leader knot. I tie a double uni. I don't mess with FG. This 20-pound line comes through those micro guides. It's mainly coming in. Out, like when you cast, you might hear a but it never really messes with it. But coming in, that's why your knot is tied. That it's on your little notch, your little thing is always sticking up, and that line is on, that onto the braid. Your leader knot, which is this copolymer, is on the braid, and so when it comes in, there's always a little tag in sticking up. So that's what, with this, like if I was reeling slow enough, it would literally like stick every once in a while. With this, you can hear it, and it comes in, and that's 20-pound. I'll probably end up running 15, I think is what, I think I was running 30 on the big one, and I want to say, I think I did switch to 20, but it goes through, and it's not an issue with this. I get it in and out. It's not like it's horrible, but if I can feel the difference with the 15 and the 20 is easier on the P-line original, that's just another reason to, I just can't, I can't do it yet. So I may try this strictly by itself I may compare them both, put them, like line them completely, spool them up on a couple different ones at some point and just see if I like either one, because I know I don't like fishing with regular line, period. I bought the Sun line 15 or 20 and put it on the year before last. Just didn't like it. I like braid to a leader, so I'm probably just going to end up sticking with P-line original for as long as they make it. I guess if I had to, I could go to that the P-line moss green stuff, whatever they call it, CXXQG. But the P-line original, oh, that's extra strong. That's why it's so funky. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. They make it a bigger diameter, so it's probably actually, they spool up probably their 20-pound, which is probably a little thicker than the P-line original 20. They call it 15. They call it extra strong, so they're really selling you something. I don't know. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video talking about BFS. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I didn't really get into rods, but there are a lot of rods. If you really want a BFS for what, you know, the Americans are fishing kind of stuff, you probably ought to go with those, because you can't get, in my opinion, there's a lot of them out there. Possibly the Carza 2, or not the Carza 2. Now it's a Carza 3. Tricus is on AliExpress. They have one that's maybe a light, but there's not a ton that are going to be on that big water BFS fishing, that where the Dobbins Phoenix makes a BFS one. Now you can get, I believe it's the Shimano makes them in all the lines almost. The Zodius, the Corrado makes a BFS rod. I mean, they're $100 and some. Some of the cheaper ones are going to be over $100, and there's a lot of good BFS rods on AliExpress, but they're going to be more for the smaller bodies of water. If you want to get into where you're going to be, you know, little bodies of water, but also, you know, be more universal use kind of rods, I'm still struggling on finding any on AliExpress that are A, worthwhile to get, and B, you can repeatedly get them. So I still like my filling rod, but there's one shop that's got some of them, and they've only got the higher end ones. They don't have the one that's all the way down in the light. They don't have the light or the medium light. They start out at medium, and then they go to the medium heavy, and that's the only two rods in that line up the fillings in. So I'm gonna probably just stop talking about it and suggesting it. The Corrado, or actually the X Pride BFS, seems like a, but that's more expensive. But probably the Corrado BFS, the Cashin. Charles has some Cashin rods that he likes those. Cashin makes a BFS rod. So stuff like that, unless I really come across good ones that I feel like are going to, you know, be worth recommending to you and are going to stay on AliExpress, I may go ahead and order one to try out. But I'm not impressed with how well rods last on AliExpress. So far, the reels, the good reels seem to keep going, like the Dark Wolf Ultra, the Acura, and this Micro Monster. You can still get them, probably, I'm assuming we'll still be able to get them for a while. They've been out a few years now. And then lastly, on those High Star reels, I don't know. I'm trying to make myself buy one of those red ones, the Dragon, one or two, because I could put those, just be a cheap alternative on my Tettons, and would look good, and I could just, then I could put this reel on something else, and then this reel I could do something else with, the higher end stuff. Just leave the Tettons with those, you know, all AliExpress. Tettons come from AliExpress. Put some AliExpress reels on them, and then maybe get a little something a little higher end BFS rod to put this Habo on. Put this on really anything, regular rod. This will handle anything I want to put it on. So yeah. All right, guys. Like always, thanks for watching. Get out, bass, bonsai, whatever you do. Have fun doing it. I'm gone. I got a van to clean out. Getting sold. So I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.